and welcome and good morning to everyone here. What an incredible weekend this is. Have you all been thank you so much to the Park Avenue Armory. Thank you for all the incredible curators, Tavia, Mimi, Brandon, Jane. Wow. Y'all have done a thing. Yes, they're right there. They have done a thing. They have done a thing. Thank you so much. I'm May Ann Teo. I use they, them pronouns. I'm Associate Artistic Director and Director of New Work at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And we're so thrilled that we get to be here with these incredible artists. I get to co-facilitate this with my colleague Scarlett Kim.
Hello. I read this. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radical Realities, Infinite Possibilities at the Intersection of Theater and XR. My name is Scarlett Kim. I use she, her pronouns, and I am Associate Artistic Director and Director of Innovation and Strategy at Oregon Shakespeare Festival. So in my role at OSF, I get to work with badass, trailblazing artists who are exploring and pioneering this intersection of theatrical storytelling and XR. And some of us are here, and I'm actually meeting some of these folks who we've been collaborating with in the multiverse for 2 years for the first time in the flesh, which is very exciting. So I hope that this conversation is just first of many that we'll have today about what this emergent field is and all the radical possibilities.
So we're going to have the lusciousness of having the artists talk about their work. So think of it like you get an extended studio visit with each of these incredible artists. They're going to talk a little bit about their work. They're going to share with you a little bit. And then we're going to have a conversation. And then, even more abundance, right across the hall, you have two exhibits. One is LaJuné's movement portraits, and the other one is the virtual reality, the VR pop-up that OSF is presenting.
Yes, and you will get to see the works by these incredible artists here, as well as other works that are exploring what is XR, what the future of theatrical storytelling is in XR, commissioned for Quills Fest, which is OSF's festival at the intersection of theater and live immersive technology, conceived by our artistic director, Nataki Garrett, who is sitting here with us today. So I hope that we get to see you all in the VR pop-up room after this conversation for the rest of the day. So what is XR? I was Googling this morning because we all have different definitions of it. And I like to think of it, or one definition I like to think of it as is a kind of umbrella term for hybridization between physical reality and digital realities. And that can encompass virtual reality, VR, AR, augmented reality, MR, mixed reality, and beyond and beyond and beyond. And I really see these artists here as the trailblazers who are defining what that really is, because it is very much a word that is, term that is being defined every day, every moment.
I also love, Scarlett, when you say, if you use your phone, you do XR. I love it when you say that. I'm like, yeah, that's right, I do XR, yeah.
I think we're ready to get into the introductions. We're going to hear from these artists a little bit about their practice, and then we'll jump into the conversation after that. And I believe for the first one, we have Justin Hicks sitting next to me here.
Yeah, are you playing the first? You can play. Hi, I'm Justin Hicks. I'm a multidisciplinary, multi-hyphenate artist, working mostly with sound and live performance. And from there, anything else I can get my hands on. Rather, I guess, than talking a lot about the many different types of things I do, I just want to share a little bit of sound. This is from an LP I made with artist Stephanie Jemison. We have a practice together called Microcosmos, and it's really kind of a practice that we see no end to. It's kind of a nerdy study practice, so we pick apart songs and find ways to commune around those parts, and that's kind of what you'll hear. This one is from a Gil Scott-Heron song that we exploded.
Time. Inspires Babies, survive. Almost, almost, Detroit.
One more time.
Detroit.
Detroit. Detroit. Detroit. Detroit. Time. Time. Over mine, mouse, Detroit, station, sleeps, annihilation. Can I hear one more time, sorry?
Annihilation.
Annihilation.
So this is a tutorial record.
People.
Thank you. So keep talking. I mean, I should acknowledge all the wonderful musicians on that project in particular. Like I said, Microcosmos, generally we work with one song. We try to expand it into, or we lock in or hone in on specific parts. So that particular song, we took all of the moments of melisma where Gil Scott does even a wisp of a run, and we created a vocabulary out of that, and we made a tutorial record, and then on the flip side, we made music, songs out of that vocabulary.
If you would like to share about your work in VR.
Yeah, I mean, so with OSF, this was the first time I was collaborating with, or working with VR and collaborating with people who knew what how to make VR work. I definitely am probably like the newbie, I think. But I think the first thing that really got me jazzed, I guess, well, the invitation was like, wow, I've never done this before. I'm gonna try, and we'll see what happens. But I think what ended up happening was really natural was seeing how there's such a, I think, not quite fully explored relationship between something that I do and what is possible in VR. And we had a lot of moments where something new happened for both of us, or for all of us. And I think the most exciting thing for me was imagining instruments in the VR world and imagining how that could be activated live and how both of those experiences are available to an audience. So I think this is literally the beginning of my journey with XR, you know, and as a newbie, I'm like, always, I see you. Thanks for being here. That's support. But a lot of our conversations were like, I'm like, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? And most of the time it was yes. So I've yet to experience kind of a limit to what I've been thinking about in terms of sound and gathering around sound. So I'm in a very kind of excited place with it all. And yeah, I mean, interested to get into the conversation. Yeah.
Thank you, Justin. LaJuné.
Yay, thank you. My name is LaJuné McMillian, and I'm a new media artist, creative technologist, educator, and performance artist. And I've been working for the past, since 2017 on a library called Black Movement Library, which consists of live performances, also like conversations, workshops, tool making, and essentially just asking the question of what it means to hold space for Black folk within digital and physical spaces. And so Movement Portraits, which is showing here, is its current iteration of a virtual reality experience and video installation following 5 Black performance artists, all based in New York City. And I wanted to just show 2 videos from the actual first iterations of that. It started as a live motion capture performance, and so all of the performers are essentially dancing and moving to these soundscapes with their embedded interviews that I've done with them. And so I like to call it an abstract documentary experience, and so folks are essentially learning about the performers as they move and perform through space. And so yeah, and then also with this past summer, this past June, with the second video, it's another iteration that was within the midnight moment at Times Square. So yeah, I'm just gonna like keep it there. We can talk after this. Yeah.
I realized dance is not only about me, like it's literally driven by community.
I think spirit, I think energy.
So embedded in everything.
But yeah, the VR experience is actually right across, and so if you just like want to view it, it's about like a 20-minute piece, and so you're like basically diving into each movement portrait through the video, but then also through the sort of abstract movement spaces that I was able to collaborate with each performer on. Thanks.
Wow. Bonjour everyone. Ani neje yayin gishguk indigenous cause waswaganin and dunjapa magizan and dodem. Hello, my name is Ty Defoe, and I'm of the Oneida and the Anishinaabe, a citizen of these tribal nations, and I identify as an interdisciplinary artist. And it's the art form has found its way through the business of theater. Because I'm really interested in utilizing technology as a tool for social change, civic engagement, and culture shifting. And I'm really thinking about these days, what is it about leaving a carbon footprint on the earth by fostering reciprocal relations, as well as amplifying indigenous futurities, things and systems that have already existed, that are still here today, that will live on much, much into the future for 7 generations to come. So I have a little scissor reel video here that is called We Evolve. I just titled that right now here at the Park Avenue Armory. So you can see what it takes, I think, from something like having accessibility from a shoestring to COVID happening, for people not understanding and knowing how to use QR codes, to the global pandemic happening, then people reading menus off of QR codes, to today where I was invited by Oregon Shakespeare Festival in terms of to think about what does it mean to have self-sovereignty, to have self-jurisdiction, so that I can just be an artist and dream into that future. And so you'll see that in this video, We Evolve. Wait for it. There we go. Wow. Wow. I mean, just wanted to give a shout out to my collaborators, Kate Freer, Lux Hawk, Dove Heimacher, and as well as Alpha Rats, located all across the globe.
Hi, my name is Dede Ayite. I also go by Dede. I'm a storyteller, working primarily through costume design. I also have worked as a set designer and a scenic artist. I have a mini reel to showcase a little bit of my work, and then I'll delve a little bit into my project called Garden of the Night, which you can see across the hall. So let's read.
Hi everyone, how's it going? Just like to feel something back. Appreciate it, thank you. And thank you all for speaking and sharing your work. My name is Raja Feather Kelly. I'm a dance, theater, and media artist. I started making work in New York in 2009. I primarily work in Brooklyn with my company, The Feather Theory, and then also work for hire. My medium in a lot of ways is popular culture. I think about wanting to make space for people who don't have space, to connect with as many people as possible, and to provoke much needed public conversations. And so my medium of popular culture is because it's television, books, movies, the written word, your social media, my social media, etc. And I'm just looking for ways where we can use that to connect and find a language to be together and to do the things we need to do. There are some photos of my work that I'd love to show you so you can begin to see it. In many ways, what I think I'm interested in is creating worlds at which then I can tell stories in, and those worlds shift from, I think, theory of color to me being completely surrounded by the world, to me sort of using popular culture inside that world to push out. I'd love to take a moment to shout out all of my collaborators. So I work with set designer Yoshin Chin, who is here. I work with a media artist named Laura Snow, a photographer named Kate Enman, costume design, both by myself and also Brandy Holt, and lighting designer Tuche Yasek. So much of what I do, I think, is building ensembles as well. There's something about creating conflict that's important to me. I think of theater and world making as kind of like exposure therapy. If we're able to deal with things in the room and talk through them and get through them, then we should be able to do that outside of the room as well. So you're seeing works from maybe the past 6 years that I have created, and I'll just say that a big interest, I think, is how, for me, how to get the story or the idea or the image that is within my head out, and getting into XR with collaborators, particularly Ilya, who I think is here, and Cyril, creative technologist, has been really, I think, and I think you mentioned this, Justin, can I do this, can I do that? Which so much in my sort of proscenium work is like, so many different tools to do that. Thinking about that in XR, VR has been really exciting because almost always the answer is yes. Takes a ton of time, but it's almost always yes. And in many ways, I think what has been sort of a failure for me is no one really knows what's going on in my head while I'm performing, or my performers, and XR and VR does this thing where it puts you in our position, and that act is something that's has really become exciting for me. So thank you.
Come on, this panel. Wow, I mean, truly legendary artists working in our time. And what's so profound about the way that you all shared was how deeply in the DNA of your work, the past, present, and future are there. They're all there. And that's just astonishing to me, and it causes such paradigm shifts when I see each of your work all the time. And I'm curious about, like, I measure my life in paradigm shifts, like when something changes everything. Maybe people call it the aha moment. Maybe it's a moment where you're like, this is bullshit. Like it can come in lots of different ways. Can you talk about one of those moments in your journey of working in this particular space of theater and XR where that paradigm shift, that aha, that this is bullshit moment happened for you?
I'll let you go first. So I think back in 2014, I was working on Ugly Lies the Bone. And Lindsay Ferrantino had a piece in there about this veteran who needed to experience VR to heal and to escape reality. And that for me was impactful. Because I think through art, through storytelling, we're trying to create new worlds for people to feel, to escape. And so we had the opportunity then to sit with like a headset and to like just experience what it meant to like escape the world around them. And so to imagine a veteran who had, whose body was covered in burns, who needed VR to sort of like just escape the physicality of like harm that they had gone through. Felt like a way in which could just, like you said, like paradigm shifting, could shift your insides, could shift, you know, your mental space. And so that was an opening for me in terms of just how to explore immersiveness, how to explore storytelling in a way that allowed people to just experience new worlds. Yeah.
I can say an aha moment for me, I think sometimes I'm scared of what I think evolution is. I think about what it takes for things to fall away or for things to deconstruct so that new things can be created. However, as I continue making and continue collaborating, I'm like, oh, we're all kind of doing the same thing, and maybe we're getting closer and closer. You know, as I work as a choreographer, sometimes I think that that's different from work as a director, and then I work as a director, and I'm like, I'm doing the same thing. Or if I work as a media artist, I'm doing the same thing. And then I work as, you know, a writer, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing the same thing. And then I meet other writers, directors, costume designers, lighting, and we're all trying to do the same thing, which is, you know, express, do you see what I see, to validate each other, to be in the same room together. And same thing with XR, VR. I think I was very scared of it. And then I was like, y'all doing the same thing I've been doing, and I've been doing the same thing y'all doing, and thank God we're able to catch up with one another. Aha. So then I feel very grateful in that way.
Yeah, I would say my aha moment was similar, and to both of yours. For me, I had never put on a headset until we started working on this project, and there was a very kind of base reaction of a new way to play. I lately have been trying to figure out how to become more outwardly playful in work I make, and this allowed the possibility to kind of go to a point of, I have no idea what this is or how it feels. Even just like the physical sensation of playing in that world really opened me up to what collaboration is, like how you can meet in the middle. Like, yeah, we are doing the same thing, very different tools, very different limitations, but there was a way in which I think Ilya in particular was like, always trying to encourage, like, no, we need you too. And that was like a big thing. It's like, but you guys are doing the technology. This is like the real technology. Why would you need me? This, to me, in my mind, VR is the future still. You know what I mean? I'm just old enough to where, like, I saw Back to the Future 2 and all of that stuff in that movie. We were like, wouldn't that be great? And it's like literally here. And like, so the virtual, like there's a feeling that there is like this big space between someone who works primarily in live or kind of analog forms and mediums, and with those tools, to see that there's a kind of a desire to work with each other, or like a necessity, because even what I was able to bring to the conversation, it was surprising when someone would say, well, that's why you're here. You know, we actually need someone who does what you do to make what we do make even more sense. And I found that to be like, I was very surprised by that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think for me, one of the things that I like to do as an artist and as a maker is really think about what technology is. And I think that when a lot of people think about technology, they oftentimes say, oh, it's digital technology. But for me, I'm like, no, there are so many different technologies. I do some movement work in some of my work, and I think that my movement work is accessing different technologies, movement as a technology. I call it also embodied technologies, ancestral technologies. There are so many different technologies, and when you merge them all together and you really work hard to break down those power structures, because I feel like we give so much power to the digital, and what does it mean to say, no, actually, like, the technologies that I bring matter, and they matter just as much or even more than just the tools that we use. I think that also, having worked in the space for years, one thing that I like to call myself a portal keeper. And so with that, the reason why I say that is because I don't necessarily think I'm building new worlds when I'm making. I think that I am discovering, I'm sort of diving into worlds that already exist, and that is able to sort of become seen through the way that I work with my collaborators. And so, yeah, I think that it's just like been really exciting to sort of, for me, explore, I guess, like all of the different tools that it takes to sort of make this work.
I love that. I was thinking about this word playful, and I was thinking about various indigenous communities that I've been, creating artwork in terms of engaging community, in particular, this idea of borders and border crossing, right? And coming with the landscape and lens that it's all, a global world, but also like Turtle Island, right? And so my first experience into VR, which got me really excited to explore and be curious about what it is an artist that was some dreamers that were working with folks in their family in Guatemala. And for the first time, I got to witness and experience in a room, right, of space, someone's parents. The mother and father were separated. One was in Guatemala, the other one was in Turtle Island, and because of the borders, not able a chance to connect with each other. And so their son invented this video game, this video game on the computer, and it was channeled through Oculus, through the headset. And so I got to witness the mother putting on this Oculus headset and connecting with the father back in Guatemala, and witnessing in real time someone's tears falling from their face, haven't seen each other since the marriage, since their little ones were born, was like a moving experience. And so when I think about that story, there are so many other stories that I could tell where I've got to see and witness the experience of why I go to the theater, right? To sit next to people, to shift hearts and minds, to channel and figure out how to create that kind of empathy. So that's just like one moment for me where it was just like, if I have any chance to create a world where connective tissue can exist between the human condition, because we have to live here, I think I want to be a part of that. And so my aha moment was really connecting with my collaborators on Anaquad through this small commission. We would meet every week and connect and talk, and I was like, wow, this is wonderful. I'm talking with people in these other worlds all around, and I got to ask questions and be curious and be playful. I got to be playful in a world of colonialism that did not want me to have these conversations. So those were aha moments in the process. It wasn't a one-time exceptional thought, but it was the layers and layers of that ancestral technology, of that animalistic technology that exists out there, that was sitting right there, awaiting for me to pick it up and see it and activate it through play.
I love this thread about play that's coming up, because what my favorite, most energizing thing about XR is that it allows me to be more childlike. I feel like it's a constant kind of commitment to be childlike, to be playful, to be rigorously playful, subversively playful, and to be emergent and iterative, because it's about not knowing together and letting that emerge new possibilities. So I'm curious about, something that we hear often as we work with artists, as we support artists, in exploring without a predetermined output, like could be an AR app, or could be a 360 film, or could be maybe a live performance or a song. Something we hear often is like, oh, this is a story that I can only tell in VR, or this is something that I feel like is very specific to the technology of XR, whatever that means. So I'm curious about what are some possibilities for impact, or possibilities for change making, whether it be social change making, political impact, personal impact, that you see as specific to this space?
I think just what you talked about in terms of breaking borders, right? Because when we were working, I was working with Joel, who was in Nigeria. You're working with people all over the world, and so to be able to gather and tell stories and create material that is not restricted to a specific section or state or what have you, I think is important, and to draw on different storylines and background that these borders actually are not real. And so leaning into that to me feels very special, that I can go into a room with someone from a different country and we can create together, not limited by like our physical sort of like location.
I think along with the idea of play, I've been thinking a lot about the opportunity and the access one may have to even imagine a life where they get to play. Thinking about just the simple access to instruments that is not, not all children have access to the things they might want to use, or to the things they might actually need to be in a certain class, or to be in a, just I'm thinking very personally about like the difference between being able to take drum lessons and piano lessons, and or maybe some other instrument. There are financial kind of hurdles there. And so I feel like, and something that I really came away from this project with was there's a possibility to acknowledge and create other ways for people to express themselves, even just musically. That's what I do. So, and in ways that we haven't yet heard, kind of bypassing what I think is the typical pathway is to like, let's get some violins and all these old classical music instruments into the hands of these disadvantaged children so that they can follow into this pipeline of like overcoming and all this stuff. What if in virtual reality we can create instruments that nobody has played and really like shake it up? Do you know what I mean? Like this is like the play and the adventure thing that I really said, like literally just putting on the headset made me feel like, well, if this is possible. And one particular part of the space that I worked on, which was like the gathering space for the Quills Festival, making sound in these kind of like playful moments for people to like jump on things and make sounds. Just the idea that, all I had to do was like plug in a little sample here and through someone else's ability and tools, we made something that like, it's just a simple little sound sculpture that really shifted my thinking as far as like what's possible, as far as how to begin a sonic life and what you might have access to. I will say the other hurdle is the not so far reaching availability of these headsets and that technology. I would say that's the thing to work on next, or now, yeah.
I think for me, I love to work in iterations, and so I never try to tie myself down to one medium. I love making video work and video art. I love doing live performance. I love making VR. And I love sometimes, merging and mixing all of those different things together. And so one thing that excites me about being able to work with all of these different mediums is that it really pushes me to think about how stories change, expand, morph through each medium. Like, what does it mean to tell a story through video? Like with this project, I'm telling the same story through video that I am in VR. And one of the reasons why I like to do that is I just feel that not everyone's going to want to do VR, and I think that that's okay. Like, I don't think that everyone needs to be in VR, but I don't think that that means that they don't get to experience a story. And so what does it mean to hold space for those folks, and what does it mean to, as makers, make room and provide room for that? With this work that I do at the library, one of the things that I love about libraries is that you can engage with information in so many various different ways. You don't have to read books to go to a library. You can just be there and chill. And I think that some people, they might go to libraries to just like have air conditioning. And so what would it mean to provide space for folks to just be in a space where all of these new technologies or different technologies exist, and whether or not they want to engage or how they want to engage and step into it is their choice. And so, I think that like some people will want to come to my performances, some people won't, some people will want to experience my VR, some people won't, and I want to be able to make space for all of those different possibilities.
I love that, and I go to the library to use the restroom, especially if I just was like, yes, like you're in New York City, right? We all go there for different reasons, which reminded me of the point that I was going to talk about, which is, this idea of access, like creating access, like creating a 360 viewpoint and scope to access, where I think that is where the future is gearing towards. And when I think about that, this idea of, like dismantling a type of hierarchy, right? It's almost like VR and XR to me is having a gourmet buffet of all your most favorite gluttonous food that you can imagine, right? That you want to invest in and or divest in. So when I think about the very important ways that VR, XR, what it can do for us, it also works across intergenerations, right? Like we have grandmas who have cell phones and can work a cell phone that also save lives. And I think something that's really important too, when I think about that, so I'll tie all these, these threads together, is that I think that, with XR, VR, and technology in particular, what it has the ability to do is to create concert and also create chaos, right? Concert and chaos at the same time, the paradox of that. And I think people can take the autonomy and the creative freedom to choose and or not to choose what they want to access at what point, depending on who you are with your personhood matrix.
When I was a child, I don't know why that's how I wanted to start that sentence, but I particularly remember being a child, and by that I mean, 10, but critical thinking was a class that I took. Did you all take I feel like they don't take critical thinking as a class anymore, but I loved critical thinking because I loved knowing that my group versus group D, 9, and 14 had to figure out the same, how to solve a problem, and we were all gonna do that differently. But then even in my group, we were like I remember being like, I know that we're a group. Sounds like a terrible collaborator. I know that we're a group, but I have my own way to figure this out. But love your way, that's super fantastic. And then growing up, sort of as technology grew up, and then having these other things solve problems for me that made me feel not great. And then as I got older, going back to those collaborators, being like, is there a way we could do this and not let a computer or something else figure out the problem? And just that trajectory for me has continued to create excitement. As a dancer, you learn technique, right? And then technique always meant so much to me about what I was doing until a teacher told me, it's like, no, technique is how, not what. And that blew my mind. I was like, oh, right, because we're all not gonna actually do the same thing, but how we do it and how we learn to do that changes, and technique is a toolbox. And so then engaging in VR, so much of my interest was not about what we were doing, but how we were doing it, because we had to do it in steps, which then also created so much excitement around access, because we're like, well, we have to do this step first. What's the text, right? How then we record the text? And for me, I was like, well, the text then needs to encapsulate everything without it needing anything else. Okay, now let's do the video part. Okay, well then everything has to be there. Okay, now let's do sound. Okay, that's fine, but then the sound has to include everything. So then what became exciting was thinking oh, well, the sound can just be the whole experience for whoever wants to listen to it. The text can be the entire experience for whoever wants to listen to it. The VR experience can be the whole thing for whoever wants to experience it. And because I was coming at it as a theater maker, I'm like, this could just be a live performance. You know, we could just make it. You know, let's get some tools. So that for me, in respect to something you said, Scarlett, on does it have to be in this medium, is something I never thought about. And in fact, there was something about making it that said it doesn't have to be. It's a gift. It's a gift, but it doesn't have to be. And that how. This goes back to the creative thinking. Getting as many people in the room as possible means to me that all of those people have to engage in critical thinking on that how, and that for me, that impact is so exciting. I'm like, now y'all can go solve problems. Now everybody can go solve, because there's so many problems coming up everywhere, anything, you know, coffee, bus, trains, bathrooms, and the more we're able to just practice critical thinking and problem solving, be it in art or be it not in art, thrilling. So thrilling for me. That's why I love it.
Yes, yes. I love that what you said is practice, right? Like that practice. There's a piece in the Quills world called Diagnosia by Meng Tai Zhang and Lemon Guo. And it tells the story of Meng Tai when he's 16, and he's sent to an internet addiction re-education camp in China. And you actually have to like kind of go through, like, do I open this door? What will I find? Do I read the note that someone left behind before they committed suicide? What then happens when I find out the picture of my parents who have brought me to this camp? And then so there's this thing about practice inside of the possibilities of XR that is actually at the practice of everything that we do. Like I love that you just named, like, we think about all of these things all the time, and we get to think about it here too. And I think about the fact that, like, that piece cannot be done in China. And at some points in time here, it can't be done here, and depending on the communities that you're in. So what does it mean also to live in this space? And it just blows my mind about that. And I just want to do a check-in as we're wrapping up here. If we have done what we came to do, does everyone here have a better understanding of the infinite possibilities at the intersection of theater and XR? Do you? Phenomenal. Amazing. Great. Okay. Oh, there's a hand. Okay. Go.
Given that there's infinite possibilities, and as we know, as humans, we actually need restrictions in order to be creative, because if we have all the possibilities in the world, we will never achieve anything, and I think everybody agrees with that, is what you guys think that the biggest possibility that we're about to get, and everyone's bloody talking about it, which I call the M word, the metaverse, what is the first restriction that you would apply within the creative industries in the metaverse?
Love the provocation. Because we have to wrap up, I think we're gonna let the questions stay in the air. And I think also, you know, like maybe the last question can be.
Can I answer that question? Can I please? Yes, I have a simple answer to that question.
Yes.
Remember that you are a human.
I think, well, our last very quick rapid fire prompt was going to be, what is your one word or few words provocation or call to action into the space? And Raja has
Humanity.
Remember your humanity. So let's do like a word or 2 words, 3 words. What's your call to action or provocation into this space?
I mean, I would just say just go out there and do it, right? So like be human and do the thing.
Be human and do the thing.
Human, do the thing. I guess I'm adding on, create opportunities for new practice and foster reciprocal relations.
I guess for me, cultivate communities of care.
I would say if you don't have anything nice to say, make, or do, or anything that's useful or productive, maybe think twice before you go down that road. Solve a problem like water, if you can do that. I mean, that's not I'm not in the business of creating restriction. or even imagining restriction, because my life and my whole being is about opening doors. So I cannot answer your question. Somebody can.
Be multiple.
Breathe.
See you in the VR room, see you IRL, see you URL. Let's jam with Justin's instruments. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.